Hello guys, so as you know by now, the Elizabeth line, Crossrail, the Purple Train, whatever you want to call it, is officially open. Now, I know a lot of you have got questions about it. I want to know some facts, some figures, etc. So on this video, I'm going to go through some facts and figures about the Elizabeth line. Before I start, please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've got a lot more content coming for you guys over the next few days, weeks and months. But in the meantime, let's get into this video. Contrary to popular belief, the Elizabeth line is not a tube line. The Elizabeth line, as I said, is not a tube line. It is a suburban railway which runs under central London. One of the reasons why it's not a tube line is because although it runs under central London, it's actually part of the National Rail Network and links up with the Great Western Main Line in the western end and the Great Eastern Main Line in the eastern end. Also as well, if you look at the actual trains of the Elizabeth line, these are a lot bigger than what you get on your London Underground network. Elizabeth line trains can carry up to 1,500 passengers at full capacity, whereas a Central line or Jubilee line can carry about 400 or 500 at a time. So the Elizabeth line is not a tube line. The Elizabeth line covers around 73 miles of track across 4 counties across the southeast of England: London, Essex, Berkshire and Buckinghamshire. Out of this section, only a small part is actually underground, with the majority of it above ground along the Great Eastern and Great Western Main Lines. Along the Elizabeth line, you'll go from bustling and busy central London to quieter suburbs inside the home counties. So you have a good variety of busier stations and quieter stations along the Elizabeth line. As you can tell by the name, the Elizabeth line was named after Queen Elizabeth II, who officially opened the line this year and officially was there to unveil the brand new naming of the line back in 2016. To a lot of us who are older, originally we always knew the project and the line as Crossrail, but as we know now, it is now officially called the Elizabeth line. There's a rumour that basically there was a plan to call it the Churchill line, but Prime Minister Boris Johnson changed the plan to call it Elizabeth line after the Queen, basically. The whole Crossrail project to build the Elizabeth line is estimated to cost a total of around £19 billion. The project itself was actually overrun and over budget by billions of pounds. So it is no surprise at the relief of Londoners and people around the country that this is finally finished. Also as well, it is worth noting also that the Crossrail project was given royal assent officially in 2008 and it broke ground in 2009. So this has been a project that has gone on for well over a decade, with 3 London mayors and 4 British prime ministers passing on in that time. As things stand at the moment, the Elizabeth line is open in 3 different stages. This is Paddington to Abbey Wood, Liverpool Street to Shenfield, and Paddington across to Reading. As things stand, they operate in 3 different sections, with passengers having to change at either Liverpool Street or Paddington to join up with another section of the Elizabeth line. But eventually, either later this year or next year, the Elizabeth line will join into one full network. So you can travel from Abbey Wood and Shenfield all the way across to Reading and Heathrow. In terms of the stations on the Elizabeth line, most of them fall within the standard TfL, Oyster and contactless zones, etc. Between Paddington and Abbey Wood, that's between zones 1 to 4, so that is a standard charge, as if you're using the Oyster card or contactless card anywhere within those zones. Between Liverpool Street and Shenfield, all stations you can use Oyster cards and contactless, but very important, Shenfield station is actually not in the Oyster fare zone. So you can use the Oyster card, but the charges at Shenfield station are special fares. So TfL fare charges don't apply at Shenfield Station, as it's not actually run by TfL, it's run by Greater Anglia. On the western end, Oyster cards are only valid, I think, up to West Drayton, I think, and down to Heathrow Airport. Anything on the Reading branch past West Drayton, your Oyster cards are not valid. You can only use contactless, basically. Going down to Heathrow, the Heathrow branch, it is inside the London fare zones 1 to 6, but Heathrow stations have special fare charges, as the Heathrow tube stations and train stations are actually owned by the airport and not by TfL. So there is a special agreement between Heathrow Airport and TfL. But you can use your Oyster or contact cards going down to Heathrow Airport. So on the Elizabeth line, the Oyster card is valid on the whole network apart from stations west of West Drayton going down to Reading. And also in the east, Shenfield Station does not come under the Oyster charge zones. So just remember that, very, very important. Also at present as well, Bond Street Station is not open at present. The station is still being finished, and that should open either later this year or sometime next year as well. But you can use your Oyster and contactless cards on the Elizabeth line as well, likewise with your Freedom Pass and so on. When the Elizabeth line opens fully throughout, it will provide 24 trains an hour in each direction through the central area, which is obviously Paddington to Whitechapel and Paddington to Canary Wharf. What this will allow as well, it will allow a huge reduction in journey times between eastern end of London and western end of London as well. For example, Liverpool Street to Paddington used to take about 20-25 minutes on the Circle and Hammersmith City lines, whereas with the Elizabeth line, it now takes, I believe, about 15 minutes. So there'll be a huge reduction in journey times across the network due to the Elizabeth line. Also as well, easing pressure on lines such as the Central line and also the District line as well. Also, the Elizabeth line will also have massive connections across the network to things such as Thameslink at Farringdon, Greater Anglia at Liverpool Street and Stratford, and obviously Great Western Railway at Paddington. And also as well, it will connect with the likes of the DLR and Jubilee line at Canary Wharf, and also National Rail Services at Abbey Wood as well. That is it, guys, for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I am actually going to do a video soon of me taking the Elizabeth line, the core section. So look out for that video. In the meantime, thank you for all your support. And if you've got any questions, please put it in the comments below. I answer all questions at all times. In the meantime, thank you so much. Take care and walk with me.